Hello everyone, and welcome to SPIRITISMx 2020. What a wonderful world. I'm Adam from Kardec Group, and it's a great pleasure to have you all watching with us today. And this two-day event, where we'll be having 16 short and insightful talks from great Spiritist lecturers. Now, we know that 2020 hasn't necessarily gone the way that everyone really wanted. And we've all been affected by various issues this year: health, jobs, social distancing, mental health, political issues, environmental issues, the loss of friends and family. Many of us have needed to reevaluate our lives, our habits, our priorities, our profession. We've had things affecting almost every single aspect of our daily lives. And so it's only natural that 2020 is maybe a year that most of us would probably want to forget. But that doesn't mean that we should be giving up. In fact, everything that we have gone through should be giving us the encouragement we need to face the challenges in front of us, to have the courage we need to reevaluate things calmly and rationally, and for us to take a moment to see that our life here on this wonderful world has a lot more to offer us if we're willing to accept the responsibilities that we have in front of us. And that's why, with a bit of technological support, we're bringing SPIRITISMx to you this year as an online event. So let's talk quickly about who we are and what all this is about. So Kardec Group, we are comprised of two Spiritist groups here in the UK. We have the Spiritist Society of Windsor and Maidenhead and the Spiritist Society of Bicester. And both of our groups are dedicated to studying the Spiritist teachings, this scientific and philosophical study of life, the universe, and everything in between, which was codified by the French educator Allan Kardec in the 1850s and 1860s. Spiritism itself is a philosophy for life, as it helps us to understand the world around us, to understand our behaviors, and it can help us to look within, to find all the elements we need of moral and intellectual improvement so that we can progress along our spiritual path. And this in turn will allow us to return in the future in a new incarnation so that we can progress further throughout every single experience we have. So as a group, our activities started 5 years ago in 2015. And this is actually our 5th anniversary celebration. Both of our groups, we have public study meetings. We have study meetings on Saturdays and Wednesdays, and everyone is welcome to attend. And you can obviously follow our group on Facebook and Instagram at Kardec Group. So what about SPIRITISMx? Well, SPIRITISMx itself started last year in 2019 with this seminar, which I'm sharing the image right now, the Spiritist Seminar 2019, Living Spiritism. And at that event, we had 12 great talks about bringing spirituality into our lives. And these talks are modeled on the TEDx format of being short and insightful, focused enough to give us little nuggets of information that make us think. And all the videos from last year are actually on the Kardec Group YouTube channel. So go over there now, subscribe, and watch them later if you didn't attend or if you haven't seen them before. Now, another thing is people have actually asked us, what does the X stand for in SPIRITISMx? Well, actually, for us, it means exchange. An exchange, the sharing of knowledge, of experiences that make us who we are, and which can help us to reflect on how we are regarding specific topics. And of course, the main topic this year is What a Wonderful World. Looking at how we can apply all this knowledge and experience we have from this philosophy called Spiritism, so that we can appreciate the world where we live and the journey that we need to take here. So let's get on with our event. So today we have 2 blocks. We are in block 1 right now with these 4 great guests: Charles Kempf, Elsa Rossi, Altino Mageste, and Silvia Gibbons. Now, obviously, during our event, feel free to send us a hello, send us a shalom, hola, salut, ciao, ni hao, konnichiwa, wherever you're from. Just reach out and say hello to us, and that'll be absolutely great. And tell us where you're from, and if you're associated to any Spiritist group, just put that as well. That'd be really great for us. And at the end of the event, we'll also have our prize draw. Now, we'll be picking up a name at the end of each block. And what are the prizes? As you can see right here, if I share it, there we go. And these are the prizes that 4 people may be winning. So, a bundle of Spiritist books, the Spirits book, Gospel According to Spiritism, Christian Agenda, and Astral City. Wonderful, wonderful books, wonderful Spiritist books with insight and knowledge that help to enrich our lives. And as a gift from us at Kardec Group, a pack of cards, a pack of Christmas cards, and I've got some proper ones right here to show you. See these wonderful designs that our group created last year. And so each winner will also win a pack of these, right in time for you to send to all your friends and family. And we also have a very special musical guest. We have Deborah Levy, who will be with us. You can follow her on Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, and she'll be bringing a piece of music for each block as well. And of course, during the event, if you have any question for the lecturers or want to say hello, just put it in the chat. And we can see that there's some people already saying hello right now. We've got Don from Chicago. Hi, Don. Thank you for being with us. Simone from Brazil, currently in the UK. Thank you for being with us. We'll come back to some of these a little bit later. And so let's get started with our first talk. And of course, we can't really talk about Spiritism without talking about Kardec himself. And for me, there's no better person to talk about that than our first guest, Charles Kempf. So just to introduce Charles to you. So Charles is from France and has been involved in Spiritism for many decades. A member of Centre d'études Spirit Léon Denis in Caen, as well as the Mouvement Spirit Francophone, and president of the Fédération Spirit Française. I hope I said that okay, Charles. He served on the International Spiritist Council from 2014 to 2016, and on the French Spiritist Council from 2007 to 2014. Charles is a researcher into the history of Spiritism and Allan Kardec. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Charles. Hello Charles, how are you?
Hello Adam, I'm fine. Thanks to you, thanks to all the workers of the Kardec Group for this event, and it's a big pleasure to be here with you, even virtually.
Thank you. Okay, and now I'm going to hand over to you for your wonderful talk.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you also. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are in the world to follow this event. It's a really big pleasure to be here today with you to talk you a few words about Allan Kardec and recent discoveries that have been made about him, which will show, as per the title of the lecture, that he really was not only a teacher. He was not only a codifier, he also put it in practice himself all along the life, even before he was Spiritist, and then also when he was Spiritist, giving us this fantastic example, and which is why so many people around the world are still liking, reading, and admiring him. So, as you know, he was born 3rd of October 1804 in city Lyon, 216 years ago. It's already 16 years that we had 200 years commemoration in the World Spiritist Congress in Paris, 2004. And we inaugurated the year after this monument that you can see on the picture on the left, together with Nestor Mazzotti and the administration of the Lyon city. And it was also a collaboration with the Spiritists from Rio de Janeiro, Niterói, which had this agreement with the city of Lyon to erect this monument. And this one is more or less at the place where he was born, Rue Sala. This place was not his home. It was a thermal establishment with, how to say, thermal water, having properties to help the women which had difficulties to have children. So that's why he was born there. And the monument is erected more or less at the place where this establishment was. Because he lived in reality in Bourg-en-Bresse, which is a city more or less halfway between Lyon and Geneva. And on the birth certificate that you can see on the top right of the slides, his father was at his birth currently in Paris. Here, a small genealogy of him. I will not enter into details, it would be too long. Just to tell you, no biography was talking about giving details about his father, his parents in particular. And we found out in 2 steps. First, that his father disappeared around 1807. So it means when the young Hippolyte was 2.5 to 3 years old, his father disappeared. He was not. The version was he disappeared during the war in Spain, and he was where he would have been probably killed. So with 2.5 years, the young Hippolyte he did not have his father anymore. So it was not his father who could bring him this education and all these skills that he demonstrated to have along the work he has done the whole life. He came with this, with already carrying it in his own spirit. And on another hand, we found out later that in reality his father did not disappear in Spain. He simply found, let's say, abandoned his wife and the children and made a new life with another person. So we found out more details about this recently. And he died with 75 years in city of Périgueux, Dordogne. On another hand, Kardec, the small Hippolyte, had one brother older than him and one sister also older than him, but both died very young. And also we found out also recently that he had also another sister younger than him, who was born in 1806, but probably also died very young. And he was the only one who survived, let's say, until his majority. And so he was the only son of his mother when he married in 1832. So basically, he grew with his mother, Jean-Louise Duhamel, his grandmother, Charlotte Beauchard, and his uncle, which was François Duhamel. Well, that was where he grew. And so he was sent by even so to study in Pestalozzi school in Yverdon. And you see, 1823, so he was not even 19 years old. He already announced that he would publish a first book, which is a book about arithmetics, according to the methods of Pestalozzi, where he had brought some improvements. And this book was then published the same year. So he had his first published book when he was 19 years old. So he did not wait long to start his big work in the educational area. In August 1825, so you see he was 21 years old, he founded his first school, first degree school, so for young children, boys mainly at that time, because the girls did not have so easy chance to go into the schools. And so that is where he started putting into practice the education in his own school establishment. Then this establishment grew a lot. He changed several times addresses to Rue de Vaugirard, Rue de Sèvres. And at the end, it was quite a big institute with several classes. It was also the secondary teachings for teenagers, and with a lot of classes in parallel and so on. And he was even in London, as I showed last year, to advertise and to find some scholars for learning in his school in Paris. But unfortunately, and this is where the difficulty of his life started, in 1840, he had to sell and to transfer the institute to someone else. And the reason for this is probably what is told in the biographies. His uncle was gambling in casinos and so on, and he lost a lot of money, and he lost basically the money of the family. In order to pay the debts, they had to, unfortunately, to sell this very big, well-functioning institute. And that is then between 1840 and 1855, as you can see on this slide, a more difficult phase of his life, where he had really to battle to survive or to ensure the minimum income for sustaining his family. So he had several other activities in theaters, in a bank, also in an insurance company. He also, together with his wife Amélie, opened a pensionate for girls between 1844 and 1850. And that was, again, working reasonably until 1850, where a new law came out, the Loi Fallou, which opened the door for religious influence on education. And this also, how to say, Kardec was known as being a teacher, teaching independently of any religious belief, and that was not positively seen by the Jesuits at that time. So he could not even continue this work in the pensionate for girls. So he had then to continue. He was himself professor, math teacher. He worked with his friend Levi Alvarez, who had a religious college. And he also performed some other small jobs in theater, patents, and accounting. And this is until 1855, he was already living Rue des Martyrs, and where he started studying the phenomenon of the turning table and Spiritism. We found also the first letter he wrote to his future spouse, Amélie Boudet. And this letter is really wonderful. It has been published in this magazine, Brazilian magazine, also in the French Revue Spirit. And in this letter, we can clearly see that they were made one for the other. And when they found they met the first time, they immediately recognized, okay, it's for us. And it's really very interesting to see how spirits like the one of Kardec and the one of Amélie, when they come together, there is absolutely no doubt, and how to say, they really followed the track that was programmed even before their reincarnation. Continuing, they also educated a young lady called Louise. We don't know yet exactly who it was. It was not the daughter from them. It was a little lady which was from very, very poor parents. So this also showing that even before Spiritism, in 1840 already, they made this choice to help, how to say, poor families, and having this little lady to be educated. And unfortunately, this young little Louise died also very young in 1845 already, at the age of more or less 10 years. And we found evidences of this into some original documents or original letters that appeared recently. I will talk a little bit later about this. And then 1857, he wrote this book that you can see here, Le Livre des Esprits, which I call a revolutionary book because it really brought, how to say, a factual basis, observing the mediumnic and all this paranormal phenomenology, and going for interpretation in order to prove the existence of the soul and its survival after the death. So he introduced really a scientific method in a field which was already developed at that time in France by the philosophy, in particular the French spiritualism. So then he wrote, of course, also the other books, as you know, the medium books, Gospel according to Spiritism, Heaven and Hell, and the Genesis. And we found also in all these documents that appeared a lot of evidences that he suffered a lot of pressure from the clergy, because as long as he was only with the Spirits book, it was more or less fine. Medium book also, but when he wrote the Gospel according to Spiritism, all his books were put in the index Liborum Prohibitorium, and they were forbidden basically to be read. And that was quite a good news for Kardec because, as he wrote in the Spiritist magazine, this gave an opportunity. A lot of people wanted to know what it is about. 1861, there was also this Barcelona Auto de Fe, was also this Barcelona bishop burned the books, which also made a lot of advertisement about Spiritism in Spain. And we have also now evidences that there was Jesuits infiltrated in the Société Parisienne des Études Spirites. And the Spirit informing this to Kardec at that time was also telling they really faced tough time to find arguments against the arguments of Kardec that he wrote in Heaven and Hell. They really could not find arguments in order to counter or to destroy the Kardec's arguments. And also what we have evidences now is in particularly at the end between 65 and 69, he suffered a lot of pressure to declare Spiritism as a religion, but he resisted. And the best proof is you just read his discourse, speech he made at the ceremony of 1st November 1868 in the Société Parisienne des Études Spirites, where he's really explaining the clear reason why he did never declare Spiritism as a religion. And all the arguments he puts, it was, as you can see, more than 150 years ago, are absolutely still valid today. Continuing, he also wrote, we found hundreds of letters, and he made several travels around the front to support the growing Spiritist movement at that time. So he received a lot of call for helping, and he answered everything. He had hundreds of letters every day to go, to do, to answer, and he did it really with a full dedication along his whole life, which is also a huge example for all of us. He also helped poor people in Paris, he and Amélie. So Mr. Costo, maybe you remember in Spiritist magazine, and also Heaven and Hell. His case, a very poor guy who died. And in his letter that was written by Amélie to him, Amélie is clearly telling when he died, she went to visit the widow, to help her, giving her money and so on. So here again, we could see that they always had this open heart to make charity and to help the people in need. Other episodes, a lot. Mr. Leclerc also got a lot of help. And it showed also that in the Société Parisienne des Études Spirites, you had some instructed people like Flammarion or others, and you had also some very humble, very simple, very poor people together in the same meetings. And this was also a very, very nice example he gave to all of us. Mr. Tailleur also, he was at the end homeless, and he hosted him in Villa Ségur. And to finish the story, When Le Marie took over after Amelie's death, he simply kicked him out of the back to the street. So the followers of Kardec did really not follow in the same track with the same charity as Kardec did. All these original documents I talked about you, there is a new portal now in Projeto Kardec, University of Juiz de Fora, Brazil. It is in Portuguese. I already translated everything in French. It will be very soon in French. And I really encourage you, please join a small group, translate it also into English, because this portal is a university standard, very high level, and it will contain all these several hundred and even thousands of original documents. It's a huge work for transcription, translation, correction, interpretation, and so on. So all the benevolent volunteers are welcome to participate in this huge work, which is currently being done. And even if it's in Brazil, we as a French guy, I'm very happy to see the quality of the work that is being done by your colleagues from this university. I'm finishing already. So this is an image I like a lot, profile of a good leader. When Jesus washed the feet of his own apostles, and he was telling, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And this is the example that all the Spiritist leaders must follow. The more we grow into the Spiritist hierarchy, the more we have the duty to serve the people who are coming looking for help. So the group is serving the people who are coming, federations are serving the group, international federations should serve the national federation, and never having this old vertical, impositive, authoritarian approach that we were used to during centuries, because this doesn't work today anymore. And even in business, in management training, you can see that more and more value is given now to humility for the managers and the leaders, because that is the best way where you can really motivate a team to reach a goal. And we as a Spiritists, we really have absolutely necessary to put this in practice if we want to give example of the learnings we are following. And also here I would like to insist a lot, all of what I showed you is that the Allan Kardec himself, albeit he had this huge authority in terms of reasoning, in terms of capacity to work and everything, he always, as I showed you in a very few slides, was having this attitude that Jesus showed us 2,000 years ago. Transition to a wonderful world. We have also the elements needed in the Genesis, in the last chapter, the time has come, and the signs of the time, where Kardec wrote that up till now, humankind has made an incontestable progress. Due to their intelligence, humans have achieved results never reached before regarding the sciences, arts, and material well-being. There is much progress yet to be made, however. They have yet to make charity, fraternity, and solidarity reign amongst them in order to assure their moral well-being. Kardec wrote this in the Genesis, which means 150 to 153 years ago now. And you can see that 150 years later, what he wrote is absolutely actual. We are still in the same situation. And if we really want now to make this world wonderful, and as it has the potential, as we all have the potential, we really have to work hardly in making this underlined part of the sentence a reality. And this depends only on each of us. We have to give the example. We have to do it on ourselves first by the moral reform, giving the example around us, and this is that when will help into the transition our world is going through. Out of charity, there is no salvation. This is a lemma of Allan Kardec and the example we have to follow. That was it as I wanted to say today, and I thank you so much for your attention. You are on mute, Adam.
Thank you for doing that. Technology. We're still trying to get used to it. Thank you very much for that wonderful talk, Charles. And
You're
of course,
welcome.
for anyone who ever wants to send any comments or questions, please do so via the chat, and we'll get round to them a little bit later. So let's take a look and see who's been saying hello. So let's see. We have, where are we? Geza Santos, hello there. We have Natalia in Istanbul, Turkey. We have people in London. We've got people over in Memphis, Tennessee, in America. We've got a good friend Pekka over in Finland. And we've got many other people saying hello to us right now. Faye Waddington, thank you for joining us. Our dear friend Fabricius, thank you for joining us as well. And look, all these talks that we have over the next 2 days are absolutely fantastic. Charles's one was brilliant. I've got some comments about it, which I'll make a little bit later. So where do we go from now? We're going to go and now talk with, there we go, with Elsa Rossi. So Elsa is from the Spiritist Society of London and Spiritist Centre of Peace. She is chairperson of the British Union of Spiritist Societies. She served on the International Spiritist Council for over 12 years. And Elsa is also an author of children's books. And today she's also going to be representing the charity Multi-Orang, which we'll talk about in a moment. And Elsa's talk is about education, tools for constructing Spiritist knowledge. Again, if you have any questions, please send them via the chat. Okay, Elsa, are you ready? Let's try to add Elsa. Hello, Elsa.
Hey. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here again, now online, but was grateful last year as well. So I'd like to give a big hug to everyone from around the world that are watching now and later on. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So I will share some slides that will be easy for me to talk with you. And I hope you can see my slides. As I'm not seeing my screen, can someone tell me if I am sharing the screen properly? Yes, I know that it's okay. So, okay, we have a delay, more or less of 6 or 7 or 9 seconds, my voice and the slide. Don't you worry, we will get there. So my talk is about, as Adam said, education tools that is so important for us to dedicate time to understand what is education. Because sometimes we confuse education with instruction. So we can tertiarize people do things for us as instructor, but education you have to do yourself, to extract from inside you, looking for it, looking for beautiful things that teach you in your daily life. So education, the process of knowledge, skills, validation methods include teaching, training, storytelling, that I like very much, discussion, and direct research. Education frequently takes place under the guidance of educators. However, learners can also educate themselves. Education can take place in formal or informal settings, and any experience that has a formative effect on the way on things, feel, or acts may be considered educational. The methodology of teaching is called pedagogy. It is through education more than instruction that humanity will be transformed. It's not me that's saying that, it's Allan Kardec, when he codified the books and also the posthumous works. That is a book that was published after Kardec's death. So it's the second part of this book. You can read more or less a extracted part. In the book Posthumous Works, Allan Kardec declares that humanity will only be transformed by education. Disciple of the pedagogue Johann Pestalozzi, the French Hippolyte Léon Denis Rivail, that we had the pleasure right now, a few minutes ago, to listen Charles, the beautiful talk, the beautiful biography, the beautiful news about his family, his life. So you have this wonderful encyclopedia in your hands. So the French Hippolyte Léon Denis Rivail was an educator as well. Later on, he adopted the pseudonym Allan Kardec as codifier of Spiritism. A Pentateuch of moral and spiritual education was prepared by him with the support of the superior spirits. Thus, was born the Spiritist doctrine, or the doctrine of spirits. That is, spiritualist philosophy under the support of the Spiritist science. In studies, we find the foundation of higher education, which is part of all the religions, creeds, spiritualistic philosophies, regardless of any forms of cults. God, the soul, immortality and future punishments and rewards, communicability with the so-called dead. So Spiritism can come and open everything for us. So we talk about the methodology. So Kardec used a very important methodology to bring towards the light this beautiful philosophy. He used a strict control, so the universal control of the Spiritist teachings. Kardec wrote the introduction of the Gospel according to Spiritism, paragraph 7. As a complement of each precept, we have added some well-chosen instructions from amongst those dictated by spirits in various countries, throughout different mediums. If they had been taken from only one origin, they would probably have suffered the influence either of the person or the ambient, whereas the diversification of origins proves that the Spirit gives teachings without distinctions and that no one person is especially privileged. We should continue what Kardec did in the past time, because nowadays one spirit dictates, one book is published, so sometimes with no this methodology as Kardec did before, strictly knowing if everything is correct and the information can come through the humanity. One tool, or a special tool, was Revue Spirit. Revue Spirit was a laboratory of the spiritual world that brings to Kardec everything that Kardec published. The public could read, could inform back Kardec, and that is the thing that he could introduce and form our codification. So Revue Spirit, the Spiritist magazine, was a great instrument used by Kardec in the work of codifying Spiritism. It served as a laboratory of Spiritist theses, a means of capturing the reaction of the public, advertising tool, and information vehicle and defense of doctrinal postulates, becoming a unique repository of facts, reports, studies, discussions, and fundamental analysis of the Spiritist philosophy to organize the 5 books, the Pentateuch, and more books about what is Spiritism and the other books that came along. So here we have some magazine that is still available on the internet. You can find in Spanish, in Russian, and English, and French, and some numbers in German. It's still there. So these books are the ones that we use in our Spiritist studies. Is the basic thing for us. The first moment that Kardec wrote the Spirit book, he opened the window for humanity, for education, spiritual education, to understand what's going on in our life, about death, about reincarnation, about the methodology to speak with the spirits. So everything is comprised in these 5 books that we recommend as a spiritist to everyone. Buy it, read it, free on the internet. We have in our website, so you can download it from them, www.bars.org.uk. So you can even have our gospel that's published this year, translated by Janet Duncan, that teaches us the moral code of the universe. This code is not only for our planet. Jesus brought for us, for our planet, as he is the governor of our planet. But there are a lot of Christs from another planet that are using the same laws of God that are inside this precious book. So, my dear people, go there. So the study of Spiritism offers a panoramic and spiritual view of eternal life, based on the order of the subject existing in the basic Allan Kardec books and complementary works. So our Spiritist Center now online, we have classes, free classes. You don't need to change your religion to study this philosophy. In our groups, we have people from the other religious background. They are really happy to learn a little bit more about the spiritual life. That is really an important thing that we can educate our children. Because educating ourselves, we can build inner peace in our family and in the world. I can share this. So as you can see here, the Spirit book question 914, are humans becoming enlightened about spiritual things? They attach less value to material things. Next, it's necessary to reform the human institutions that entertain and excite the passions that depends on our education. So we must do all that we can to build peace in the world. Otherwise, it's impossible to enlighten ourselves and not be a peaceful person. That to be conquered, peace in the world, requires the involvement and participation of the whole society, and we must overcome attitudes such as complacency, passivity, indifference, and omission. On the other hand, it's also necessary to develop tolerance, related behaviors, respect, friendship, compassion, humility, kindness, responsibility, love, resilience, generosity, truth, gratitude, solidarity, and collaboration if you really want the implementation of peaceful life to destroy selfishness. So, talking about peace, we can acquire our inner peace in a state of calm, satisfaction, and hope achieved with the practice of personal virtues learned by spiritual education. So some people, they spend a lot of money paying things to do relaxation outside, this and that, but you can do yourself. You can do self-studies. People that comes to our immense congresses here in the UK, for example, they buy the books, they study themselves. They don't need to come to a Spiritist Center as a person, but they can acquire the knowledge of Spiritist teachings and help themselves. Peace in the world, peace in the family, peace in inner peace. So creation of a culture of peace in the home, stimulating open dialogue, mutual respect, and effort to build a harmonious and balanced family life. Educating children, spiritual dialogues, free classes for families and children in our Spiritist Center in the world for free. You can find on the internet now, you can participate in kardec.org.uk, have a lot of addresses that you can participate. When I was looking for material to add in our information today about education, that we educate our children with the books, the storytellers, etc., I found this person. She is the founder of a very important institution, the spiritualeducation.org. You can find the information, and she wrote a book that I interested, the spiritual child, that teaches us values, not only for a religious purpose, but for classes in the normal schools, and these are their projects. This lady and the other people. So they are building information regarding how to bring spiritual knowledge, spiritual education inside the normal school that there is no religiosity as we have in Brazil, universities, colleges, scholar groups, etc. So in the Spirit book, question 917, what is the means of destroying selfishness? Because we can educate ourselves to be no selfishness person. Of all human imperfections, the most difficult to uproot is selfishness because it is connected to the influence of matter from which human beings still so close to their origin cannot free themselves. We can say here now. Here we can, is only as a matter of suggestion, you can find books in our website, books that can bring to your home, to your child, help to educate your child, talking about someone that already died or passed in the spiritual world, how to pray, so 30 prayers, so every day children can learn how to pray for a grandmother that is in hospital or for a pet that died. It's very nice to have these kind of things to help our children to know a little bit more, okay? Here, again, the Spirit book was released in 1857. The medium books would have to be the following on the series, 1861, in order to enable the careful study of experimental aspects raised by exchange between the two planes. We are surrounded by spirits. We are learning, and we are giving examples how to teach others with our examples. When we enlighten ourselves with these books, or you enlighten yourself with something that is really good, how to behave, I described a lot of vicissitudes and a lot of good things to do and to be. These books are amazing, so you can really modify your life. Also, in order to educate ourselves, a tool of education is books. So there are books. These books here now that we have in our BAS bookshop, you can find on the internet, you can order, I can send it to you when you have time to go, these times of lockdown. And for next year, we have 3 books that will be, 4 books actually, will be published in 2021. They are under revision right now. So, my dear listeners, I have to see my time here. So I have 5 minutes already. Still have 5 minutes because I can't see you. I only see my screen. So, suggestion to you all is to promote the culture of valuing peace between children and adolescents, families. Find the online Spiritist education. You can find us on the internet. You can teach and be part with your children, your young people, your teenagers online, learning about behavior. We have so many children, 13 years old, committing suicide right now, almost one every fortnight. That make me cry, and we can change the way the family are behaving, change the way to teach these children, change the way to behave with cuddle, with dialogue, and the books are really helping a lot. So you can find the groups here on these 2 websites because we have it a treasure in our hands. So we can explore this treasure a little bit more. So I'd like to say thank you for everyone for these very important moments. We will be available for questions and answers later on. And I finish my talk right now and say thank you to all.
Okay, thank you so much, Elsa. And we'll come back to Elsa a little bit later for the Q&A, but that's a wonderful, wonderful talk. Great notes here that I've made myself about how Kardec saw things and the panoramic and spiritual view of life. That's a wonderful way of looking at things. So, one thing we're going to mention now is that Elsa is supporting the charity Multi-Eron, and we're going to talk about that just quickly. So, Multi-Eron is a small charity in Brazil, and it's run by her son, Daniel Rossi, in Curitiba, Brazil, and they have all kinds of activities there that directly benefit the local community. And as you can imagine, due to the events of this year, they are in need of a little bit of extra support themselves. So we're collecting donations. So Kardec Group is collecting donations on their behalf, as well as on behalf of another group, which is Grupo Espírita Sheila in Salvador, Bahia, run by Florencio Anton, and Florencio will be with us tomorrow. And to get more information about these groups and how to donate, you can go to our High Five website. So www.kardec.org.uk/high5. And this is our new campaign, which we're starting to run to accept donations to send out to those groups who need it, people who may be struggling right now with the things that they're going through. And it's so easy, so easy. You just go to the website, you can scroll down, read a bit more about the groups. Then at the bottom, you'll find out how to donate, either by direct bank transfer or by PayPal. And on PayPal, you have the option of choosing either 5, 10, or 20 pounds, or any other value you want to give, as well as the option of donating every month. And it is really as easy as that. All you need to do is just go there, make a couple of clicks, make a small donation, and, you will get a high five at the end of it, because that wonderful feeling we get of accomplishing something, that's what we want to give. And it's only a small amount, the same amount as a coffee and a sandwich. So, anyone who can help with that, please do. So we're going to move to our third talker already, and we're going to go all the way up to the north of the country, well, into the middle of the country, and talk to Altino Mageste. Now, Altino, for those who already know him, is dedicated to the path of Paul of Tarsus and studies the book Paul of Stephen meticulously. So Paul and Stephen, for those who don't know it, is a book from the Spirit Emmanuel and through the medium Chico Xavier. Altino is a member of Grupo Amigos de Paulo, GAP, and also has the Café con Paulo YouTube channel. And so again, if you have any questions for Altino, make sure you send them in the chat and we'll come to them later. So let's now pass you to Altino, who's going to talk about Paul of Tarsus, weaving the new version of me. Hello, Altino.
Hi, hello. It's nice to be here. What a wonderful day. And how wonderful is to be among friends, to talk about wonderful friends. So thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. And thank you for this amazing world that we have. It's a joy to be here once again. And thank you and congratulations to all of you who organized this event. Thank you, Kardec Group UK. Well done. So you are wonderful. And yes, again and always a pleasure to talk about Soul of Tarsus, my friend Paul. And I'm so happy with the theme of my talking today, Soul of Tarsus, weaving the new version of me. So to talk about Paul of Tarsus, we have to start from the beginning. The name Soul means request, from the original Shau. Some theologians and translators suggest that this name, Shaul conveys the meaning of God's request. And this was the name of the first king of Israel who belonged to the tribe of Benjamin, like Paul. So he's described as a man of stately physique, the most beautiful among the Israelites, as in chapter 1, Samuel 9:2. In the biblical narrative about the story of King Shaul, shows that he was a brave and very courageous. Also, the name Saul means the one that is long awaited. Saul of Tarsus then carries this imposing name, a name with an intense and emotional charge. And indeed, Saul of Tarsus was long expected to occupy the most important place among Jews. Saul of Tarsus was designed by the world to be a rabbi. He was taught, trained, and prepared. A strong, resolute, faithful man who would do anything to keep the laws of his people intact. These were the plans of the world, the desires of the world. But there is a phrase, a quote from a friendly spirit called May May that says, God has roads where the world has no paths. And it was on a road, precisely on the Damascus road, that God revealed to Saul where he really should be walking. Saul met Jesus on the road and had courage to ask, "What do you want me to do, Lord?" And Jesus then revealed a plan to Saul. Jesus' plans were much greater. Saul would be much more than a leader for the Jews only, to the Jews only. As Jesus said to Ananias, "This is my chosen vessel to carry my name to kings, to the children of the kings, to all people." Saul was shaped by Jesus then to be the voice of brotherhood among all people, Romans, Greeks, Jews, and Gentiles. Saul of Tarsus get back from 99 to 0, as in the game Snakes and Ladders. One moment he was at the top of the world, and the next he was at the lowest place. And as Charles Kempf said it, do you remember the biblical message? One who wants to be greater, be smaller. And now, see how amazing is this? The name Paul means small. So Paul really, and by name, became small. Saul of Tarsus, after that, reorganized his ideas, reviewed his principles, and began to weave a new man. The old man stayed behind. And I know that you can say, well, everybody knows that, or some can say, but this is the obvious. Every time you talk about Saul of Tarsus, it's always the same. Same repetition, same Damascus road, same vision, and same thing. And I have to say, sadly, yes. The obvious and repetition will be always be present until we start to put them into practice. We do not lack information, books, theses, lectures, seminars on the Great Waver of Damascus. What we lack is the obvious question, the one which we don't have courage to ask. What do you want me to do, Lord? And we are afraid to ask this question because we are afraid of the answer. We are very, very afraid of the answer because this answer will take us out of our comfort zone. And then we'll have to start to weave a new version of me. We'll have to use the threads of humility, the needle of patience, and we'll have to unfold the yarn balls of charity and fraternity. Our loom will be shaped by the principles of Jesus to love and forgive infinitely. And yes, it's obvious. But we are not doing even the basics. We are dreaming of an oasis, but we do not want to cross the desert, our desert. So, Paul of Tarsus' plan is not to be perfect overnight. We have the false notion that Paul was transformed from a moment he met Jesus at the gates of Damascus, and that's it. It was just a vision. But it was just the beginning of an exceptionally long process. It was not overnight. It took decades to happen, the whole process. And we forget that as soon as he saw the Messiah, the Master, he went blind. And the light of transformation gradually revealed itself. And the more the light of Jesus shone on Paul's heart, the greater his internal struggles. So it was not that easy. Because before starting to evangelize people, Saul of Tarsus had to evangelize himself. And this is our second problem. We want to evangelize others. We want to change outside the world. We want to change others. But this is not Paul's proposal. First of all, the evangelical invitation is to transform ourselves. But we do not want to be changed. We want to stay as we are. We want to change the world, but we do not want to change our habits, especially the bad ones. So Paul's proposal is the transformation from the inside out. The world illuminates, but the example draws the crowd. And if today, if you have a multitude of people following Jesus, it's because much more than words, more than inflammatory speeches, much more than academic titles, it is because we have example of people who knew how to live a new version of me, according to the Saul of Tarsus plans. But how can I live a new me in this present time? In this world where everything comes ready, from the clothes I must wear to the food I must eat, everything is already prepared. It's like I have no choice. I have to follow the flow, follow the pack. I have to stand in line to follow what material life tells me to do. We live with our eyes wide open to the things of the world, and we only dream about spiritual things. It is as if we were very thirsty, but we did not want to drink water to satisfy ourselves. And now I'll talk about the third problem that we find, that we face when we try to renew ourselves. Maybe it is the problem is the biggest one. The problem that keeps us from transforming ourselves morally, ethically, emotionally, and spiritually. This may seem comical, but it's tragic, very tragic. The third problem is that we want to give orders to God. We think that we have a right to give orders to God, instead of asking Him what He wants us to do. What we do? We give Him orders. Lord, I want you to do this. Lord, I want you to do that. Lord, I deserve this achievement. Lord, I have been a good child, so I'm entitled to this reward. And there follow our negotiations with Lord. Of course, we can and should ask God for things. Our Master, Jesus, told us to knock on the door and it would be open to us. But the problem is that we knock down the door. We kick it down the door. And we do not have to even time to wait for God's answer. We are acting like the two friends on Emmaus Road. They did not wait patiently and left Jerusalem. You remember the two walks on the road because they didn't have patience to wait up to the third day. So we live in a world of haste, emotional fast food, cultural fast food style relationships. And we forgot that God told us that I am. He did not tell us that he was or that he will be. He is. With God, there is no clock, no time, there is no rush. With God, there is eternity. And it also terrifies eternity because we want the immediated. We want it here, right now. We want that our orders and wishes to be fulfilled now. But we forget that Ecclesiastes teaches there is a time for everything. There's a singing time, time to silence. There is time to dance, time to settle down, time to plant, and time to harvest. But we only read this and understand this according to what is good for us. And most of the time, we just want to smile, dance, and harvest. After all, to succeed and be happy in this world, I cannot cry, I cannot stand still, I cannot be fragile. So, I would like to return then to the theme of my speech. Paul as a role model within a new version of me. I would like to remind you that our model and guide is Jesus. But Paul is that our older brother who inspires us and directs us the way to reach Jesus. But what is script is that Paul managed to draw that bring us closer to God. Of course, each one has its own path, but it has some elements that are common to all. Love, work, wait, and forgive. So those are four essential verbs in Paul's theological, spiritual, and evangelical legacy. These verbs were gifted from Abigail, and they are essentials for all who wants to live in peace of mind. But there is also another compass of Saul of Tarsus steps. It's called the Gospel according to Spiritism. And this is an unparalleled roadmap for all those who want to find a new version of me. There you will find step by step the wonderful teachings of Jesus. And do not be afraid if you want to find it. Read these books, read the gospel, and do not be afraid. Because when Saul of Tarsus, then Paul, when Paul in fact discovered Jesus, he followed a script. And this script is the gospel. And at first he was scared, unsure. But Jesus said, do not think that I've come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. So what I'm going to tell now here, just some lines, is chapter by chapter of the Gospel according to Spiritism. So it's a guide for us. It's a script that we can follow to live a new version, a better version of us. Saul of Tarsus was so scared about this Jesus, about this carpenter. And he was scared because his kingdom was the most important thing on earth. But then Jesus came and said to Paul, my kingdom is not of this world. And then Paul think to himself, but how can I live with all these people? Everybody's thinking in different things. And Jesus say, Paul, my Father's house are many mansions. And then Paul say that, but what about my past? I have my culture, my traditions. And Jesus say, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of heaven. And then Paul of Tarsus said, but Jesus, I'm afflicted. And Jesus said to him, but you are blessed, because I'm Christ the Consoler. Lord, but I am so poor in spirit, but you are blessed. So what I have to do then, Lord, to have a new version of me? Love your neighbor as yourself. And that's it? That's the only thing I have to do? No. You have also to love your enemies. And how can I do it, Lord? So, Paul, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And don't forget that without charity there is no salvation. And you have to be sure what you want to do, because it's not possible to serve God and Mammon at the same time. I know that you are not perfect, but try to do your best. Try to be perfect. And you know, Paul, that many are called, but few are chosen. But you are chosen. You are my chosen vessel. And I know that sometimes you feel alone. You don't know what to do, where to go. But don't forget that your faith transports mountains. And you have to do it. You have to use your time in the best way, because you are a worker of last hour. And be aware, because there will be false Christs and false prophets. And please, Paul, you are an intelligent man. You are a wise man. Please do not hide the light under a bushel. Seek and you find the truth. You have waited for me since we were born. You've been educated to find the Messiah. But I'm not here just as a Messiah. I am here as your friend. Anything that you need, ask. Ask it and it will be given to you. And so those are the chapters of the Gospel according to Spiritism. And at the end, there is a collection of prayers. After everything, we have to pray, to renew ourselves, to be in connection with God. Because when we definitely got the position of being renewed and with a new version of ourselves, we'll be able to say, as Saul of Tarsus, as our friend Paul wrote to the Galatians 2:20, I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me, and this is a new version of me, a better and a happier one. Thank you very much, all my friends. Let's keep our heart and our mind and our soul and all the good things that we have inside us focus on Jesus, because he created this wonderful world for us. Many thanks to being with me. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Altino. That was a wonderful, wonderful talk. And it's so good to hear these kinds of positive examples of how to get through things in life, to, as I said, to have these moments to come out of our comfort zone, which we sometimes desperately need to do in order for us to fully understand things. So let's go and have a look at all the people who've been saying hello. And of course, just a reminder, if you want to send any question for the lectures for the end, for the Q&A at the end, please do so via the chat. And actually, we've got quite a few people. So let's just go through quickly. So hello to Pollyanna, Tatiana, Tarek, Steven, who will be with us later, Umberto, who will also be with us tomorrow, Jasara, who will be with us later as well, Samantha, Alan, Wayne, Anna Paula from France, Sonia, Camilla, Abeid Ahmed, Anna Maria, Sol Souza, Tanya, and everyone else who's joining us right now via the Kardec Group YouTube and Facebook channels, via the Spiritist Society of Ireland, the Irish Spiritist Federation, Facebook and YouTube, all those joining us on Hedge Amigos Spirita and Kardec Radio as well. Thank you for being with us right now. And we had a comment just now, just to re-explain about the High Five campaign. So just to talk about that again, just quickly. So High Five campaign is our little contribution to be able to help get donations to help these community projects in various places, such as in Brazil. And the two groups that we're helping right now, as we mentioned before, are Multi-Iron and Grupo Espírito Sheila, both of whom have very good and noble work. And the people who run these projects, they more or less live there. They live in these projects. They live and work and breathe within these communities, helping these people from poor backgrounds to have housing, to have food, to have education, to have the basic necessities they need to be good, honorable, and noble people. So we'll talk about it a little bit more in block 2, but that's just to recap on what it is. And again, if you want to find more information about this or see how to donate, just go to www.kardec.org.uk/high5. And I must say a really big thank you to the people who have already sent some donations to that. We've just had the pop-ups come in right now, and honestly, thank you, thank you, thank you. So that was Altino, and so we're now coming up to the last talk of this block, and we're going to now go to talk to Silvia Gibbons. So Silvia is in London, and she is a medium, healer, humanist counselor and therapist. She's the coordinator of Chico Xavier Spiritist Society in Hammersmith, London, and has been involved in the Spiritist movement in the UK for many years. And again, any questions for Silvia, please send them via the chat, and we'll come to them during the Q&A. And so let's bring on Silvia to talk about Spiritist consciousness, paths of inner reflection. Hello, Silvia.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good evening. God's blessings upon all of you. It's wonderful to be here. And it's an emotional time to be together with so many people. So today, my theme is the Spiritist consciousness, paths for inner reflection. And in many ways, this have been dealt with already quite in the talks that have been before. So what is Spiritist consciousness? Is it learning all the books? Is it studying all the books? This is very, very important, of course. Without the knowledge that comes through the study of the books, we wouldn't know very much, but it's very important. But this is only a part of what Spiritism is, and what one who can call oneself a Spiritist, what he needs to be. So this is very much a personal way of feeling, my own feelings, my own interpretation. But to me, to be a Spiritist, besides the learning from the books, and I think they've been calling about the charity and everything, that's a part, a very important part as well. And to achieve all this, we need to understand what it is. So to be conscious of being a Spiritist is much more than just having a feeling that we like what it is. It's much more than an emotion, but it's a way of being. It's to have a moral compass that guides our lives every single day, every thought, every action we have. We are guided by this moral compass that Spiritism gives us. It's also a certainty, absolute certainty, that we are never alone, that we are never abandoned, and how much it doesn't matter how lonely sometimes we may feel, even, you know, having all the knowledge about spiritism, sometimes we can also feel lonely and lost, like anybody else. We go through the same experiences. But also we have the certainty that we are never alone, that every thought, every need we have, God is with us and He knows it. Also, it's with this knowledge, this consciousness of Spiritism, is to understand that we have what we have asked for and what we need. And I can understand that even for me, sometimes it's hard to understand, is that we have actually asked for it, especially the difficult times that we may have. We ask for all these things, and it's very, very difficult to understand that we ask for something that we feel that is very hard to bear, that is, you know, sometimes things get so hard, so difficult, that we feel we cannot cope. And I think that at the very, very difficult times is when all that knowledge, all that feeling and emotion and the way of life that we have in Spiritism kicks in. It comes, it's like a light in the darkness. In the deepest, deepest darkness is a flame, a small flame of inspiration that will take out of that moment of despair, that will give us hope that things will be all right, things will change, no matter how hard this can be sometimes. And this little flame that comes, you know, it's how this flame comes to be. It's sometimes in the middle of a very sad or very unhappy time or difficult times. It's a friend. It's a phone call from a friend saying, "Oh, I've been thinking about you. How are you today? Because I've been thinking about you." Or someone does a kind thing to us, or a kind word, a kind gesture. That's how the flame comes. You know, it doesn't fall from the sky, but comes from the people that we know. And it's that instant that it's renew. It's an instant of renew. It's an instant that we found help, and it's like coming from the abyss into the land that we are standing on ground that are solid. And also, it's a knowing. To be conscious of it is that it's a knowing that everything we do, good or bad, will come to us. Will be returned to us. And this moral compass is what shows us what we need to be to ourselves and to others, because we learn that what we want for ourselves, others also want for themselves. So this is something that it's so easy to just see my point of view, but seeing that other people have the same need. So if we wanted to be respected, if we wanted to be valued, if we wanted to be appreciated, we need to do it first. We need to value other people. We need to appreciate and see their point of view. And this is sometimes takes quite a bit of us. In question 621 of the Spirit's book, Kardec, who talked about him already, everybody knows by now, but he was the person who codified the Spiritist doctrine, that wonderful person. He asked the Spirit, where are the laws of God written? And the answer from the Spirit is one word: in the conscience. So this means that no matter who we are, rich, poor, religions, non-religious, non-believers, if we have a very high standing in society, if we're very low in society, if whatever race we are, whatever we like or dislike, we all have within ourselves this moral compass, and it's our own conscience. And also, I think one thing that's very important is that this compass that guides us, that will lead us into a better life. It's there so we know that whatever we do is for ourselves, will come back to us. And sometimes will take us a very long time to come back to the right path, or to see what it will come to us. And I think this as well helps us, that when we are hurt, when someone is unkind or does something to us that we feel hurt, especially if it's something that is unfair, the first thing that it comes up in us is a kind of anger, or a desire to tell the person that how we feel about them as well, lashing out and giving back as much as we can get, as much as we're getting. And with this knowledge, with this consciousness of the learning of Spiritism, we stop. It stops us. We will not answer back. We have time for ourselves to breathe, to be calm for a while, to lift our thoughts to God, or to ask for guidance and help, and to maybe see the other side, and it gives us a sense of, almost not pity, but a kind of mercy, I think, that comes over. Because if we stop to think, well, this is, whatever it is their problem, it's not mine. I don't have to accept anything that is unpleasant or unkind or unfair from anyone. That's them. We do what we need to do. I'm going to be kind in reply. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to say a prayer for that person. And this, whatever, it creates this chemical or this chemistry within one that is completely clear, all the anger or the resentment or even the despair sometimes, because we can let go of that thing. It doesn't belong to us. What is important is how we are, how kind we are, how difficult we are. And this is a very, very important point. And I think reminding ourselves, because, like Altino was talking a lot about the Gospels, and thinking about the Gospels and the teachings of Jesus, he says, we will not reach heaven until we pay the last farthing. And in many things, this gives to understand that we are going to be punished, we're going to be sent to damnation and never be able to redemption. And we're learning in Spiritism that that's not so. We are not judged by anyone. God does not punish us, doesn't send us to eternal damnation. We ourselves are our own judges, and our conscience can be a lot harder than anything that we can imagine, any hellish places that we can imagine, because our conscience will lead us to some places, because it will punish ourselves. God does not punish anyone. And this sometimes can take a long, long time, but we will have to answer to whatever we've done in our lives, be it good, charitable things, or most especially the difficult things, the times that we are not so good, that we're cruel. Everything we will have to answer for. And that's learning about this as well, that we have to answer for what we've done. Will make us more charitable, more understanding, because we know that if someone is doing something that's a terrible thing, they will have to answer for it. And that day, when they be aware of what is done, they will feel very, very unhappy and very sad. And like if it is we doing it, one day will come that we'll have to answer for. And this will be a very painful time. This will make us understand people more and have some pity and mercy always I'm reminded of that part in Shakespeare about Portia when she says the quality of mercy. It blesses him who gives and him who receives. And I think this is such a beautiful phrasing. It's so beautiful because if we are able to let go of our anger, of the resentment, whatever it is, we can overcome this and we can be merciful. And as Jesus said, blessed are the merciful, because they will obtain mercy. So this is something that we learn, and it's not easy thing to learn. It's not easy at all, because pride is always in the way. We feel ourselves that why should I be always the one who am forgiving? Why should I always be the one who understand? And sometimes we question ourselves, but because we know better, because we know something, we know what it is, we know the difference, and to those who much is given, much will be required from. And I think that's one of the things. And I feel personally that to be a spiritist and to really have this consciousness of being a spiritist is not easy. It's very, very difficult. Spiritism demands a lot from us. It really asks everything we have. It asks all our pride, or selfishness, or meanness, all the difficult things that we have. And it demands it. It really asks us for it. And in return, for letting go of what is asking of us to give, it gives us inner peace. It gives us a sense of achievement. It gives us a loving kindness that we are part of everyone, that everyone is part of us. And then also, it doesn't criticize, it doesn't say that someone doesn't need redemption, because we all do. Because as Jesus said, God does hate the sin, but not the sinner. So I think for me personally, what I have learned in Spiritism is that we need to learn to forgive. We need to learn to be, to try to achieve, to be a little better every day, because we are children of God who loves us, who is with us, and we are part not only of our own families, but with the whole world. And the theme of this talk today, of the seminar today, is a wonderful world. And we live in a wonderful world. We live in the most beautiful planet, lovely and blue and white, and we share this with others, with humanity, with animals, with our environment, and we need to learn to protect it and to have a loving feeling towards everything, which makes us better person, better friends, better neighbors, and we help our planet and we help ourselves, and it's just this wonderful feeling. And most importantly is to have inner peace, because it has no price. To be able to just lie on the bed, you put your head on a pillow and know that you had a good day, there is no price for that. So that's my message for today, and thank you very much, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Silvia. Thank you. A wonderful insight there. And again, just sorry to anyone for any technical difficulties that were occurring during Silvia's talk, but we hope that you're still able to hear her message clear enough. Okay, well, that is the end of those specific talks. And again, if you want to contact Silvia, you can certainly do so. And Silvia has nominated the British Union of Spiritist Societies as a destination for any donations that you may have. So next up, we have the prize draw. So we're now going to find out who the first winner is of this bundle of Spiritist books and pack of Christmas cards. So we have all the names here in a hat. Let's see who the first winner is. And the first person to win is Alan de Goys. Alan de Goys, if you want to send a little chat to us, say hooray in the chat, just so that we know that you're watching. If we don't get a hooray, then we might pick another name. Okay, so Alan de Goys, if you want to just send a hooray, then that would be great, and we'll contact you to send you this bundle of books. Okay, and of course, anyone who wants to participate in the draw for tomorrow, you have until 5 o'clock today to register. After 5 o'clock, we won't be taking any more registrations. Okay, and again, we'll have another draw in block 2, block 3, and block 4. And of course, block 2 is coming up in a moment at 6 o'clock with these wonderful people. But before that, we obviously have our Q&A. But even before that, we have, if I can bring it up, we have a little musical treat for you. Nope, sorry, I do apologize. Okay, so our very special guest, musical guest, Deborah Levy from Rio de Janeiro. She's a composer and pianist from Brazil and has worked across various styles of music, including classic, jazz. She's part of groups in Brazil, one of them being Linha 176, and the other called Celebrari, who is very large in Rio, especially around the time of New Year's. In 2019, she took part in the Rio Montreal Jazz Festival, and we have 4 pieces of hers, one for each block. And so we're going to pass you now to Deborah, who's going to introduce herself, and then the first piece, Vida Nova, New Life. And we hope that you enjoy this.
My name is Deborah Levy, and I am a Brazilian pianist and composer. I'd like to say thank you for participating in this event. I would like to say that I'm very honored to be participating here, and say also that I think we are in the threshold of a new time, that we have to think better and do better about the relationships between the planet and between us, in the direction of the evolution of the humanity. That's what my second album is about. It's called Our Best World View. And I will show here one composition of this album and 3 others from the first album that's called Apimentado. I would like to say thank you to Valeria for the invitation, and wish you all a lot of love, health, and peace in the heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Deborah. And if you want to follow Deborah, she is, if I can bring my slides up. No, sorry, I didn't make the slide of it. You can follow her on YouTube, on Facebook, on Spotify, and on Instagram. And you can find more details about her later on and on our website as well. So we are now at the time for our Q&A. So we haven't yet had a hooray from our previous name that we selected from the prize draw. So we might pick another name in just a moment. But we'll go to our Q&A first. So let's bring back all of our special guests today. So we're going to bring back Charles Kempf, Elsa Rossi, Altino Mageste, and Silvia Gibbons. Well, first of all, thank you all very much for your wonderful talks about this wonderful main theme that we have this year. And we have a few questions that have come in. So let's go to the first one. So we know that some things have been answered in the chat already. But let's go to a question from Jean Carlos in Slough, who's actually a member of our group. And he asks, how popular is Spiritism in France nowadays? Have they rediscovered Kardec? And also, all these research initiatives are fantastic. How can we support them?
Thank you for the question. So, answer to the first question, Kardec is being much more known in France and all the French-speaking countries as we think. When you look to the book selling statistics, the Spirit's book is selling 4,000 to 5,000 exemplars every year. So it's demonstrating that a lot of people are reading it, and this is only printed book. You have also all the books of Kardec, which are free for download on the Spiritist Encyclopedia, Encyclopédie Spirit, Spiritism.net. And I would say also the interest for the Spiritism is growing. A lot of people are asking us for information, are asking us also to meet other people. So we took a new initiative now to help the people to join together. And another characteristic is you have a lot of people collaborating in forums, chats, Wikipedia, whatever type of virtual platform for helping and making good dissemination of Spiritism. And a lot of people are Spiritists, but they simply don't want to join a group so far. They prefer to stay alone and to make their work from their home, let's say, sometimes even without identifying themselves. So really, the search for Spiritism and Spiritism group is growing. And the second question was how to collaborate to this research work. I showed you the website. It's projetokardec.ufjf University Federal Juiz de Fora .br like Brazil. And there you have a contact formula where you can register and write them that you are benevolent for helping. You can describe indeed and a little bit more what type of help you would like to bring, and all the help is welcome. Thank you for the questions.
That's great. Thank you, Charles. And I have a curious question for myself, really, is if Kardec were around today, what do you think he would make of Spiritism? Do you think that he would recognize it as to how he envisioned it and thought it should be? Or would he think that it's changed far beyond recognition?
Look, for me, clearly, the teachings are very, very solid. They are here. We have all the original books in the right editions. There is a lot of debate right now about possible changes that were made after his death, but we have, of course, all the original versions. So this is, I would say, a kind of rock. It's something which is probably a couple of centuries ahead in time, definitively. And with regard to the Spiritist movement, to the Spiritists themselves, which not always are giving the good example, unfortunately, I think for him also it wouldn't be a surprise, because he faced the same type of things as I tried to show you during his life. He even wrote that the Société Parisienne des Études Spirites was continuous discussion and problems and whatever. It's at a point that in 1860, or so quite at the beginning, he was about to quit the society himself created. So many problems there were, and I think the spirituality helped him to have the authority to overcome the problem and to continue until the end. But as soon as he discarnated, as it's shown in the recent books written on this subject, there was a clear deviation. The followers were by far not at the same level as him. So I think he will not come back so soon. He made his job, I would say, 2, 3, maybe 4 centuries ahead of time. And if he would come back, it will be at a time where the Spiritists themselves will understand a little bit better and also put into practice onto themselves first the teachings that they are following.
That's great. Thank you so much for that answer, Charles. And
and
I agree. There's some things which we need time to overcome, to learn ourselves in order to appreciate what something is actually about. So all the books are there. They're available in so many languages. And I think the best thing we can all do is sit down and actually study them.
Exactly.
So we have a question here which is the next question we're going to go to. Let's go to this question for Altino. So Altino, someone's put here, I read the book Paul and Stephen, and it helped me to have a better understanding about humbleness. Which other books would you recommend about Paul and his journey, weaving himself from Saul to Paul?
Wow, it's a great question, and there is no one answer for that specifically by number or by name of book. The thing is, the impact of Paul on the gospel, on Christianity, is so big that after Jesus, Paul is the most commented character on the Bible, the New Testament. So there are many books. As you can see here behind me, most of all these titles here, it's exclusively about Paul of Tarsus. I have many titles, and depends on what you want to see, because when we start studying Paul of Tarsus, it depends what you want to see, what you want to find in Paul. Do you want to see the Jew? Do you want to see the Roman, the Greek, the human man? Do you want to see the crying man? Do you want to see the friend? Do you want to see the shy guy? So there are many ways to study and to learn more about Paul of Tarsus. And the number of titles are endless. I can show you some books that will help you to understand. And the best thing to do is to find books from people that think different the way we think as Spiritists. Okay, because more we learn Paul from a different perspective, wider is our knowledge about him. This one here, for example, from the Pope Benedict, it's amazing. It's how he seems Paul of Tarsus, and it's brilliant. It's a small book, so this is one of them. So I would like to tell you, there is this Paul for everyone, from my beloved friend Tom Wright, the one that wrote Fresh Perspective on Paul. Amazing book. If you want to see the culture, you can have Cross-Cultural Paul. It's amazing book. So the authors are 6 authors here. They take Paul from Tarsus and put him in Argentina, in America. So there's a confrontation here about culture. There is this from the Geiger, Reinventing Paul, which is amazing. There is this one here that I quite like. Paul, it's in Portuguese. Paul, homem em Cristo. Paul, a man in Christ, which is amazing. And of course, if you want to go on the roots of it, there's this book here. We can't find it anymore. I have it. It's from 1948. It's Paul and Rabbinic Judaism. So you know the roots were based on Paul. And this one here from Barclay, you can't find it anymore as well. It's 17 years old. So the mind of St. Paul. And you have those two here from Tom Wright. I'm going to show first in Portuguese. Paul Wright, Paulo, a biografia, and the same version in English. The same book, and it's amazing because step by step about Paul. But if, as you see, Paulo, that you read already, the book Paul and Stephen, read this one here. Taylor Caldwell, it's here, the name is A Grande Amigo de Deus, but in English, it's The Lion of God. And these books are amazing, but there is nothing to compare to Paul and Stephen. So please contact wherever you are. Here in UK, you can contact a bus, you can contact many places and read it again. I read it over 33 times, and every time is a new reading, new finds. And in this book here, all the others that I showed you before, everything is in here. So Paul and Stephen, this is the Portuguese version. We have it in English, we have it in French, we have it in many, many languages. So yes, Paul and Stephen forever.
That's great. Thank you. And of course, it's so good to have all these wonderful books available for us to help us, to guide us through all these things. And one thing which I wanted to comment about what you mentioned is that this thing about orders versus what we should do. Do we sometimes stick to the rules too much? Or should we be taking things into our own free will a little bit more? But how can we really engage that correct limit to not go over the limit, to make sure that we're still following things in the best way possible?
Sorry, Adam, is this question for me? I couldn't hear it properly.
Oh, it's well for anyone who wants to answer it, really. But how can we make sure that we don't go beyond the limits of the teachings, of the guidance that's out there, to make sure that we don't go off? That we don't go the wrong way, as it were. So actually, perhaps we can go to Silvia for that one.
Okay. Yes, it is. I think for me, the way I see an answer to your question is to first and foremost to have the learning and apply to ourselves. I think, basically all the questions that ever will be asked or have been asked has already been answered by Christ. If we read the Gospels, all the answers are there. And like he said, we tend to see the speck in somebody else's eyes, but we don't see the big one in ours. And I think basically, if we apply the teachings for ourselves first and try to see where we can improve, where we can change, where we can be first and foremost us to judge ourselves, to change ourselves, then it's easier to because the others, they will have their own way of dealing with things. I think when we take everything to heart, we become fanatical. And if there is something that in Spiritism we do not do, is to be a fanatical, because we are right, we are the only path. On the contrary, one of the basic things that we're learning in Spiritism is that redemption, salvation is open to everyone, that they may not even follow the Spiritist teachings, but they live such a life in such a way that God will open the door. I'm always reminded by what Jesus said. Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of God, but those who do the will of my Father who is in heaven. And he doesn't ask you if you have a religion, if you know all the teachings, but if you have a life, you do the will of God, it doesn't matter. And I think this is like, as I say in my talk, we have this compass to follow. And first for us, and then if we taking care of ourselves, we don't have time to check what others are doing, and to do the will of God, do the will of the Father, and do to others as they would do to us. That's how I would answer you.
That's great. Thank you, Silvia. And so following on from that, and we'll go to Elsa for this last question, how can we engage young people, so not just children, but youth, and actually even adults who may need it? How can we engage these people into Spiritism?
We have to review the way that it is. The model we are using is an ancient model. We have to interact with the young people.
I'm sorry, I think Elsa's having some technical difficulties.
They catch their... No? I'm listening to you.
Yep, are you
Okay.
back with us?
Can I...
Great. Yes, please.
Yes? Yes, what I'm saying that we have to review what we are doing in our Spiritist Center in order to attract in the way that we are teaching. We have to modernize things and bring the young people according to things that are happening in the world. They catch their attention or things they talk in between them, and bring these questions openly around, not sitting, one talking and the other listen. We have to interact. Leave them to bring their questions and find the answers or as guidance in our Spiritist books, and bring to them the concepts from the spirituality regarding the way that they are the questions they are thinking about. It's for teenagers, because they're so impulsive the way that they are acting. So they don't have the answer at home. They can have the answer outside us, wrong answers. If you bring the father, the mother, bring them to this Spiritist philosophy, they will learn how to behave. They will receive the concepts, more or less, that will guide them in order that they can see the life in a different way. So we can really have a different approach. Not in one person prepare a plan for the year and stick to the plan and don't move the plan according to the young people needs. Something that we need to review in our Spiritist centers. It's okay?
Yep, that's great. Thank you so much, Elsa. So we have now come to the end. So I'd like to say thank you once again to Charles, to Elsa, to Altino, and to Silvia. So thank you all very, very much for everything that you brought to us today to help us reflect about how to make this world a more wonderful place for us to live harmoniously here. So again, we'll just say thank you and goodbye to these guys for now.
Bye.
And what we're going to do, unfortunately, we didn't get any reply from Alain de Goys. So Alain de Goys, who who registered for the prize draw, we haven't had any reply back from you yet. So we are going to pick another name, and basically we'll give you a moment to be able to send in the chat a hooray, just to make sure that you're out there and taking part. And we've got more people coming in and taking part. Fernando Mesquita, our good friend from Rio. Thank you for being with us. So we're going to pick another name. And if this is your name, please type hello or hooray in the chat. Cristiani Montenegro. Please type in the hooray into the chat, and we'll contact you to send you this wonderful bundle of books. So that's it for block 1. So again, thank you very much, Charles Kempf, Elsa Rossi, Silvia Gibbons, and Altino Mageste. We will be back at 6 o'clock, so just under 1 hour from now, for block 2, where we will have these 4 people: Sara Korngold, Stefan Bertozzo, Tanya Stevanin, and Dana Sisi. So again, come back and join us again on the Kardec Group Facebook and YouTube pages, on Kardec Radio, on the Irish Spiritist Federation, and also Hedge Amigos Spirita. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you in about 50 minutes from now. Okay, take care.